So, which one of you is next?
I'm going to start with a big overall franchise question for you. Is there a past Final Destination kill scene that still makes you go, my God, I cannot believe we actually pulled that off?
Oddly enough, I think it's little Timmy getting squished by the glass in FD2. I mean, originally that character's supposed to be 8 years old, and the studio's like, that's a little young for what's gonna happen to him. So we aged him up a little bit, but I think that doesn't detract from the sheer, no pun intended, impact of his death.
It's so good. I was just talking about that one earlier. I have a big fear of the dentist, so to put me on edge in that scene and then have that be the way he goes is so effective. Of all the past kills, which would you say is like the most ambitious of the bunch production-wise, and how does the most ambitious in Bloodlines compare to that?
Well, divorcing from the opening set pieces, which just by nature are so ambitious, shooting the gymnastic sequence in 5 was really challenging, not just because of the amount of footage and angles we needed to get, but the fact that we had to have our lead actress train for 5 months to be in shape, to do all of the gymnastics herself. So there was just a lot of moving parts to that sequence. And I think the comparative one is in the tattoo parlor, because that's also very physical. And our lead actor, Richard Harmon, really did a great job. He's like the Buster Keaton of horror, if you will. And there was a lot of special effects and stunts and integration with production design. And because it was about a balancing act, same thing. There's a lot of very careful choreography that has to go into it to make sure that it's both safe and effective. So those two, I think, are real two sides of the same coin, perhaps a penny.
Yeah, I like that. Both extremely effective. I feel like because you just brought up some cast, I'll jump there next, because one of the things that I've always appreciated about these movies is how quickly I get attached to each ensemble. And I know each movie demands a different type of ensemble, but I was wondering, during the casting process, do you see any shared traits among the actors that you cast? Something you see in them that signals to you, we will ultimately achieve that intended effect?
When we cast, and we got great casting with this one. Our cast is lovely. They bonded. They have great chemistry. And one of the things we were looking for is people who would not only sort of feel like they came from the same gene pool, but when we started doing chemistry reads and seeing how people interact with each other, just that they felt like they could be a family. And one of the benefits we had was we were given rehearsal. And by having rehearsal time, not only do you get to really workshop the script to make it the best it can be, it gives the actors the opportunity to really bond together. And part of this process was sharing family stories, because that's what this movie's about. Final Destination Bloodlines is about a family. And the more they shared, the more they found common ground, and they really carried that connection with them onto the screen, which is why I think Final Destination Bloodlines is so effective in representing how the family operates.
Building on that a little, when you have rehearsal and you place that heavy emphasis on their chemistry together, can you tell me something that is in the final film that only came from that? That wasn't on the page to begin with, but it's something that came to life because of what the actors brought to it, either themselves or with each other?
Well, there's a lot of moments that you find are more real when they come from the actors and the characters they're embodying. There's one moment when Aunt Brenda, April Tellick, she's the one who came up with the appropriate way to say, well, whatever you do, don't look here. Because as a mom and as somebody who has certainly been shared a lot of living, she understood how to send signals without actually sending the signal. So that made it in the movie. And interesting, something that didn't make it in the movie was the way the Tony Todd scene was originally buttoned. It was scripted, but Zach and Adam had a very good idea and said, Tony, please, tell the audience and tell the fans how you would want them to feel. What would you like to say to them at this moment? So everything in the last sort of like 2 or 3 beats in that scene are all Tony's talking from the heart. So which is why it's both emotional but also feels so authentic.
Oh, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. Just as someone who has always been a big admirer of his, but also this franchise, I was so impressed by how well all of that landed. I kind of jumped ahead. I wanted to make sure to include this question, because we were talking earlier. I saw you 14 years ago. I've been waiting 14 years for a new installment of one of my favorite film franchises of all time. What took so long, and can you maybe walk me through some of the hurdles you had to overcome in order to get a green light on this movie?
You know, I think let's work backwards. COVID. That's almost 2.5 to 3 years gone right there. Then you have the actors strike. So that's almost a year probably that has to go away because they ramp up. So off the bat, you're down to 10 years, right? And then we had to get the script ready and written, and that was about a 2-year process for that. We were ready to shoot something we were ready to try again about 6 years after the fact. but circumstance and things just kind of got in the way. But I think in many ways it did two things. It made us, it gave us the opportunity to really workshop the material, which is I think why Final Destination Bloodlines is working as well as it is. And it also, I think, allowed the fans to really build up a hunger for it. And more than anything, Final Destination has become sort of like a hashtag. Like when you have a close call, you can say, oh, that was a Final Destination moment. And so social media has kept us top of mind for the entire run of those 14 years. And now I think people are ready to have their own Final Destination moment by going to see Final Destination Bloodlines in theaters.
I have follow-ups. I hope I can remember them all. First one that came to mind, what would you say is the biggest difference between draft one of this screenplay and the finished film everyone is going to see?
There's so many, but let's just say that Darlene was once Dale. So
that's such a big difference because you were talking about the matriarch aspect too.
It's a choice that we made early on that like we're making an error here. We need to course correct and really lean into the very thing that has been the emotional through line of the movie.
Oh, that's
and
such
that's
a
what
smart
development is all
change.
about. Is to understand and get the nuances that you would want the audience to feel into the script. And that was a casting decision that was very easy to make. And once it's so funny, once you sort of say, well, what if we made it a woman? Everything fell into place. All the other weird things that weren't quite working suddenly just resolved themselves because we had a trunk that we could hang things on.
Oh, that's such a smart pivot. Now, the other thing that came to mind because you brought up like the hashtag of it all, is there any particular Final Destination death that sticks with you the most? Like when you're out and about in the world, is there any particular thing you look at that brings you right back to something in one of these movies?
Well, independent of the ubiquitous log truck, which everybody knows, I still have issues with the gymnastic sequence and the screw on the balance beam. Anytime there's something on the floor, a glass breaks, I immediately go into panic mode and a threat matrix builds out in my brain as I look at the possible ways that one me stepping on that one thing is going to cause all these other things to conspire to take me out. So my life is a Final Destination movie, and that's why my hair is gray.
Oh. I feel like I'm right behind you. I'll be there eventually. Every single time I'm walking throughout New York City and I see a fire escape ladder, I just take a moment, look up.
Well, you look down to see if there's any spaghetti, and then you look
That
up.
too,
Right?
yes. I can't forget the spaghetti. Another thing that I really wanted to ask you about, how close did you come to moving forward with Dark Ages?
Oh gosh, not close at all.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a very interesting idea, and I think what's interesting is that Final Destination Bloodlines, by virtue of starting in the past and coming to the present, shows that there is sort of this larger sort of satellite view. You can look at the world through a Final Destination lens, and time becomes something that impacts things, or there's a ripple effect going through time. So maybe the future can hold different iterations or permutations of that kind of idea.
I will always want to see that. I obviously have to ask you about picking Zach and Adam to direct this because, admittedly, when you have a favorite film franchise, you get nervous every single time you hear one is a go.
I get nervous, yeah.
The second their names were announced, I'm like, I can rest easy. I have all the faith in the world. What is maybe the first thing you saw in the two of them that signaled to you, like, these are the right guys to hand this franchise over to? Well,
it's a two-step process. The first step was watching Freaks and realize for a very, very limited time and budget, they had such great texture and performance, and this was a fully realized vision of what that world and what that story was. So that made me feel very confident that they would be somebody to approach. And when we did, they came up with, as I'm sure you've heard, their pitch was not only an incredible pitch just in terms of its presentation, they really analyzed the franchise, got why it worked, and were able to present a very reasoned methodology as to why they're the right people. But then they did something extra special, and at the end of that presentation, which they would have gotten the job just by that, we came out of the Zoom meeting and they were in control, and the fireplace in the back had, the fire had leapt out and was actually catching the mantle on fire, and everyone's muted. We're going like this, stop, stop, stop. Finally, they go back, they realize they put out the fire, Zach and Adam sit back down. Whoa, that was crazy. Crack. Adam looks up, and a ceiling fan falls and beheads him, squirting blood everywhere, and they both fall out of frame. And they had done this entire pre-filmed, pre-visualized, with them executing their own visual effects kill. They demonstrated that they had the capacity to understand how to execute a Final Destination kill in their actual pitch. That was the icing on the cake.
Incredible. Did want to make sure to end on this question briefly, because I've answered this question personally many times, but it's different when the producer of the franchise answers it. Do you think there's any limits with the Final Destination franchise? Can it continue on and on and on?
I think the magic of Final Destination is that it's about the idea. And the idea of whether or not fate, destiny plays into your life is something that not just everybody has personal relationship with, every culture, every country, everybody all over the world has some relationship with that. So I think Final Destination as a brand, as a piece of IP, and as a conceit will go on forever, whether I'm here or not.
Limitless potential. I'm a big believer in that. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.